We now are going to look at maximizing. You've got the property up and going. We're now looking at maximizing income. As residents approach you, as applicants approach you, and as residents start to move in. Let's hit on objectives right at the beginning. You'll see from the objectives some of the things, and this is in your text at 173 at the top. You should know, and hopefully you all do, how much your scheduled income you're receiving right now. Scheduled income just means the amount of money that if everybody did what they're supposed to do, that's how much you would get. The big question is, have you set a goal for yourself in terms of how much more you would like to receive this year than last year? Then I'll even break that down, because a lot of people look at income, but they don't really look at what the net income is. So in addition to just what's the scheduled income and wanting to increase that, what is your net income? What is your NOI? Your net operating income, and how much of that do you want it to increase? And then beyond that, how much of the income that you're supposed to get are you actually collecting? Because it's one thing to have on paper the 4 different properties, the 4 units are supposed to get $1,250 a piece. That would come to, what's that, over a year's time or over a month's time, $5,000. So in a year, that's $60,000. So that's the scheduled amount of rent that's coming in. Well, next year, do you want that to be $64,000? Do you want that to be $68,000? Do you want that to be $72,000? Have you even asked yourself how much more that I want? A lot of times we're so busy as rental property owners and managers, we're so busy just doing it, that we don't really stop and say, wait a minute, what's the vision? Where's this ship going? Where's this boat going? You're just too busy rowing the boat. And so as long as you're getting what you're supposed to get, you're kind of happy. I'm suggesting to you, if you really want to run this thing like a business, you need to set objective goals in terms of income. In every category that we've talked about so far, to be honest, but I'm just using this now as an example. So how much more next year, this year, well, we're about the end of this particular year now. So how much more are you planning on wanting to get? Because if you know you want to get more, then you may do some things differently to make it happen. But if you don't stop and say, I want 10% more, which would be another $6,000, which would be how much per month? An extra $500 a month? Okay, so what can I do? You can start to think it through. What can we do to get an extra $500 a month from these 4 particular rentals? And of the $60,000 that's coming in, how much of that did I actually collect? You may be surprised that after everything, after you really go back and review it, maybe you only collected $50,000 of it. Maybe you only collected $54,000. What is the percentage? Is it 90%? Is it 80%? And once you know that percentage, then you set a goal for getting a better percentage of collections next year. See, again, it's not just about doing this thing. It's about having a vision for where you're going. I can't overemphasize that. Most landlords don't. And as a result, they stay at the same stage of growth, and then they wonder, how come we haven't gotten any better? Well, you haven't purposely taken steps to get better, to improve. And that's why a lot of them eventually give up, because now they're at the same level they were 5 years ago, and that level now is not as exciting as it was when they got started. Now it's like, I'm doing this for this? Yes?
Question. I was wondering why you excluded. I'm just curious. Yeah.
Mainly because mortgage will vary from person to person, from property to property. I want you to focus on what would be happening if you didn't have the mortgage in place. What would be happening if you didn't even have the mortgage in place? But you have to take the mortgage in play. Now, on the NOI, I don't mention that. That is one of the items. Oh, yeah. Again, because that'll vary from from property to property. Exactly. So then, if you go to sell the property, the other person, they may not take over the mortgage that you have. They might be buying all cash. They want to know they want to know what it is, not counting a mortgage. So if you're talking to anybody, if you're doing benchmarks with other people, you can be on the same page because you're not looking at mortgages, which will vary from person to person. But all the other expenses are going to be there. All right. So good question. What we were last talking about collections. So what percentage of it are you collecting? And are you setting a goal for higher next time? And then if you're like the average rental property owner, you have somebody that owes you some money right now. Former resident, yes? Okay. Have you ever stopped and added up how much is actually owed to you?
Yes.
I hear one person, I'm seeing everybody else kind of shake their heads no. Okay? But you should know how much you have that's on the table that you haven't been able to collect from former residents. Because it will challenge you. It will challenge you to do what? If it's sitting there in front of your face, wait a minute. You mean it's $10,000 that I got out there that I haven't collected? Maybe I do need to something. Maybe I do need to look to see about garnishing their bank account, finding out where they are, garnishing their bank account, garnishing their wages, reporting their debt. If nothing else, report their debt to all 3 credit bureaus. I've had residents contact me 3, 5, 7 years later because the debt is showing up on their credit report and now they're trying to do something about it. And it only costs you $12.95 to do it if you use one of the services, reporttenantsdebt.com. Reporttenantsdebt.com. For $12.95, you can report their money owed, and you don't even have to have an official judgment to do it. Yes, ma'am.
They changed the laws about reporting debt.
Not on a national basis, I believe. Maybe in a state or two, but I don't think that's the case.
Changed it. This was a couple of years ago. There was a huge change because judgments from the county used to automatically get reported, and they don't anymore.
Yeah, so you're saying in your local area they may not be reporting it.
I thought they made that change locally.
No, it's not national. National, you can still report people's debt. Now, there may be some localities that aren't permitting you to do it. In fact, in some localities now, they're saying you can't even, for the last 18, 20 months, money that was owed, you can't count that as a knock against them. That's in some localities. All right.
That report tenant debt, that was it?
Reporttenantsdebt.com with an S on debts. On tenants. Reporttenantsdebt.com.
Is it all Mr. Landlord?
It is. Prior to move-in, a review, in case anyone didn't catch some of the things that I alluded to at other times in the first day of the training. In fact, let me use that board over there. One of the things I like to start off with basically is the ABC's ways of increasing income. That A stands for ask. I mentioned yesterday, ask people, how much are they looking to spend on the next home that meets their needs? Simply ask people that question. Don't assume that the price that you want, they're not wanting something higher. Now, hear me clearly on this. I'm using this strategy before I set the rental price. I'm using this to help me set the rental price. I haven't set it yet. You may say, well, wait a minute, Jeffrey, don't you put it in your advertisement? No, I put a price range in my advertisement. I put a price range. So it might be $1,100 to $1,300, $650 to $800, $1,750 to $2,000. I use a price range, even on the ads like Craigslist, where they have to put a certain figure on top. Well, in the description, I still use a price range. And so then when people approach me, or for example, somebody came up to me and said, Mr. Taylor, I know you have properties for rent, and I'm looking to, and this was somebody who worked at a printing shop that I do some of my printing at. He asked me, Mr. Taylor, do you have a place coming available? I said, yes, I always have a place coming available. And he said, how much is it? I said, well, you know, John, let me ask you, how much are you paying right now so I can see if we're within your price, if it's within your price range of what you're looking for? And he gave me a price. It was actually $100 more than what the price was that I would have probably quoted him. And guess how I responded? John, I got something within your price range. So if I end up renting to John, guess what? I got $100 more from what I would have gotten if I just quoted a price to him. Now you say, well, when do you actually quote the price? When the first 3 or 2 people come to the showing or respond to me. Because I don't set the price till I hear from 2 or 3 people. So if somebody tells me they're looking to spend, or they've already been spending $850. Say I've got $800 in mind. Somebody says they're looking to spend, or they at their last place they paid $850. Another person said $900, and somebody said $975. Now to them, what did I say to each of them? Hear me, I don't want you to get in trouble from a fair housing standpoint. It's something in your price range. That's how I respond to all 3. If all 3 come to the first showing, and I encourage people, if I'm doing a group showing, to come at the same time. I don't like showing it to one person at a time. If I'm going to show the property, I want to have at least 2 people there, if not 3. In fact, if nobody shows up, let's get the neighbor to come up at the same time to make it look like something's going on. You think I'm joking, but I'm serious. All right, so when they get there, if they all showed up for the group showing, that's what I told them over the phone. What do I quote when they come? Remember, I only want 800.
Either 975 or
Either 975 or 900? Actually, no. I would quote 850. Now, there might have even been somebody who showed up who over the phone said they're paying 600 right now. I wouldn't go with them. I'm not saying go with the lowest figure necessarily, but I'm going with the lowest figure that's at least equal to or higher than what I want. The reason I don't say 975 is what did I just do in terms of these 2 people? I crossed them out. And this person might have said 975, just been talking. And get there and say, no, this is what I'm looking for. So there's no need to scare people who are within the price range that I'm looking for anyways. Everybody with me on that? So where were we? So I want to go with the figure, a figure that's at least equal to, if not greater than, what I'm looking to get. Everybody got that? All right. So again, ask people. And I said it 2 different ways. What was one of the ways? How much you plan on spending, or how much are you currently spending? Now, once I quote the price, from that point forward, guess what? That's the price.
I have a question.
Yes.
In my prequel, I asked them what the current rent is. My inclination is if what I'm asking and what they're currently paying is a huge jump, and they're not indicating any reason why their income would have changed, I kind of dismissed them.
Say that again.
On my pre-qual questions, one of the things I asked is, what is your current rent?
Gotcha. And so if it says 700, but now they're paying 1,000, that's a red. Now you're offering 1,000, offering the property for 1,000.
Yeah, even a bigger difference than that. But yes,
That's a red flag to me if it's too much of a change.
Okay.
That's a red flag. So it makes me want to look. Everybody got that question? You don't want. In fact, that's another reason why I actually asked how much you're looking to spend, how much you're paying now. Because if what I want is way different than what they were already paying, I'm concerned because they're not used to paying that amount. And if you're not used to paying that amount, it's a good chance that you'll run into some financial problems trying to pay the higher amount.
what about somebody who's newly employed?
Well, if they're newly employed and their employment income can justify that amount, then okay. But again, the first thing you hear or look at is a red flag, but not necessarily a long-term red flag. If their new job justifies the difference, okay, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right, so that's A. But the way I'm doing this, by the way, I want to talk about buffer money for a second. One of the reasons landlords get out of this business is because they don't have enough buffer money, is what I call it, when things go bad. Reserves, thank you. But I'm not talking about reserves as in reserves. I'm talking about as in the amount of income the amount of net income that you're receiving on your property. So I'm not talking about reserves really when I'm talking about buffer money. In fact, when I first got started in this business, I was happy with $50 a month cash flow. When I first started, remember this is 35 years ago. If I had $50, because anyway, $50 I was happy with. Then it went to 100. Then it went to 200. Now, if I'm not getting at least $300 to $400 per unit positive cash flow, that's a problem. I shoot for higher than that, but that's my minimum that I want. So many landlords are still, and some of you are shaking your heads like you're above that in terms of the $50 or the $100, and I applaud you on that. Some landlords are even breaking even. They're basing it on appreciation being their key thing. I'm saying to you, no, you want to have some buffer. You want to have some leeway there, so when that hot water heater goes out, when the roof finally needs to be replaced, when things go wrong, you're not in the hole, because it doesn't make sense to get $60,000 in income during the course of the year and your net income is only, let's see, that was 4 places, you're only getting $100 extra if you had that scenario. So that's $400 from the 4 places. So 400 times 12, 48. So you got 5,000, close to 5,000 buffer right now, just based on that. Well, one thing can go wrong, can make a big dent in that 5,000. One serious thing going wrong can make a big dent. So how do we get buffer money? The first way I suggested was ask. I said to you yesterday, bigger rent, smaller deposit. That was another thing I suggested to you. Asking people, move-in costs. Would you like to lower your deposit if you pay a higher rent? If you'd like to lower your deposit, pay a higher rent. Because the end result is I want the buffer money. I don't want a large deposit. But I take that back. During pandemic, I raised my deposit that I wanted. I still use the same strategy, but the baseline for the deposit is now higher. For me, yes.
Question about deposits.
Yeah, I'm familiar with them. A couple of them. Well, in some cities, you are required. One of them is a city in Ohio. I don't know if it's Cincinnati or near there, but they actually require landlords to offer, as an alternative to the regular deposit, this insurance product is what it is, basically. And I mean, it's really, I have no qualms with that particular scenario. If it works the way it's supposed to work, and you're left with the resident owing some money, the insurance company supposed to pay that money through the program that they're doing. So I have no problems with that.
If you would accept that.
I would accept that.
In a market where it's not required.
Yep, I would accept that. Though if it's in a market that's not required, I don't think too many people will be suggesting it. I could be wrong, but I know in my markets it's not required, and I haven't had one person even start to ask me that. Have any of you had anybody ask about an alternative? They'll ask about it. Okay, so one person out of the room has somebody actually asking about it.
So my concern, I like the ideal, but my concern with the deposit.
Yep, they might not be.
They're probably somewhat weak.
Gotcha.
Financially. So
Again, I'm looking at everything else on the application. I'm looking at what they're showing. If what they're showing, I mean, if they're weak, they're going to be weak from the credentials that they're showing you on the application. So just because they're asking for that as an alternative doesn't necessarily mean they're weak. But now if on their application, their income looks weak, they got poor rental history, they got poor this and that, well then yeah, they're probably weak, and that's why they're asking for the deposit. But I'm not going to use the fact that well, let's do it this way. Maybe from your viewpoint, and maybe even mine for that matter, maybe that's something that would raise a red flag. That you want to definitely look clearly to make sure the reason that they're asking for it is because they're just being a savvy individual as opposed to somebody who can't afford it. Because there is a difference. Because, you know, when I go to buy a property myself, what am I looking for? I'm looking for a deal. Doesn't mean I can't afford a higher price property. It just means I'm a savvy investor and I'm looking for the best deal possible. Well, many residents, of course, I'm saying this only to a certain degree, because if they're too savvy, they may have just gotten outside of my target market. You're laughing, I'm serious. In fact, one of my mentors was Nick Kuhn. He passed away a few years ago, but he was from Ohio, known as the hard-nosed landlord. And he shared something with me that stuck for a long time. He said, Jeffrey, I would rather rent to people who take orders all day long than someone who gives orders all day long. So if you start talking about supervisor types, he avoided them. He said, because those types are the ones that's going to be quicker to call me for every little thing that needs to be done. So when he was doing his target marketing and giving preference, if somebody was someone who took orders, that was what he was looking for, not somebody who gave. And then he would joke, he said, if you think I'm joking, look at your spouse and ask the spouse, do you give orders all day long or do you take orders all day long? I'm talking about even in the marriage relationship. All righty.
What was the answer?
That'll vary from couple to couple.
I'm asking for you.
Oh, for me? We'll keep talking. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Gonna be bigger rent.
Bigger rent.
So what if a tenant after 1 year anniversary, they say, well, I already paying you more this year, so can next year you drop the rent?
No,
Because
no. They might ask that question, but the answer is no. Once we got the baseline set as the bigger rent, that's going to be the rent from this point forward. We're not changing it every year. And the deposit is going to stay. It's not like I'm going back and asking for you to increase the deposit. No, your deposit stays low from that point forward as well. All right. Number C is customize. Customize. That's with an S? Okay, customize. What do I mean by that? In fact, I talked about it briefly yesterday when I said the supersize strategy. So when somebody comes to look at the property, I'm glad you like the home that we just showed you. Can I please tell you about the 3 to 4 to 5 most popular upgrades that we make available for all new residents? In fact, if you go to page 185, somebody even asked me yesterday, what are some of the anniversary gifts that I give to residents? They're also the same things that I offer as upgrades. And on page 185, you see a list of different upgrades that we make available to our residents. You might like some of those. You might want to add to that. You might want to take some away. But the point is, we offer different upgrades to people. For an extra $150, you can have any 3 of your choice.
Any 3?
Yeah, for any 3. That's per month. Okay? By the way, don't get bogged down with my figures, because as I'm teaching you, I'm just throwing out numbers to help get the point across. You may say, no, that should be 200. That should be 100. You do the number that works for you. The point is, it's a good chance that most of you in this room right now aren't offering any upgrades.
I have a question.
Yes?
Why would you offer membership at a local gym when that doesn't improve your property?
Why wouldn't I offer membership at a local? Why would I?
It's on the list.
I know, I actually do that.
Okay, why?
Because I've got an apartment building. My competition for apartments have fitness centers.
That's a good answer.
There's a brand new recreation center that was built right next door to my property. So we started offering free membership at that as an extra way to get people to come to my property.
Well, that's perfect, you don't have to maintain it.
Or buy
No, I don't have to maintain it at all. Okay? So anyway, that's the reason. All righty. Okay. Good question. But again, those are just examples of different things that can be offered. And I would challenge you with this whole idea of asking people. It doesn't hurt to ask. It only takes one extra sentence. So in case you're sitting there, well, I don't know if people would pay me extra. By the way, it starts off by asking for a larger number for 3 or 4 items, but then we come back and say no, because most people don't want the 3 or 4 items. They don't want to pay an extra $150 for it. They already kind of got, well, or they might not even want to pay an extra $100. But for an extra $50 a month, an extra $40 a month, you can choose any 1 or 2 of your choice. And you come up with a figure that works for you. My whole goal is to cover my costs within 6 months of whatever it is I'm offering. Maybe a year. 6 months to a year max, I'm covering my costs. So if the amenity costs me an extra $600 and I'm charging an extra $50, I've covered myself in a year. If it only costs me $300, like a washer and dryer, a used washer and dryer might cost me, in fact, a pretty decent used washer and dryer for $300 I can get, and it covers my costs within 6 months, we charge an extra $50 for it, I'm good. Yes, ma'am.
If you sold like a closet.
Good question. Just like if I had a ceiling fan, would I remove it for the next resident? The answer to that is, if I've got a closet organizer was the question, or ceiling fan I sometimes get asked, would I remove it for the next resident if the last resident wanted it? No. But what I do say for the next resident that shows up, based on the preferences of our most recent resident, we've already upgraded this property. For an extra $20 or $25 a month, you're welcome to have this upgrade, this property with the upgrade. And if they say, I don't want it, take it away, I said, no. It comes with the property at this point. Plus, if they're telling me they don't want it, that makes me wonder, it's probably a money thing, and it's going to be harder to increase the rent on this individual who's saying, take away a ceiling fan that's costing maybe an extra $20 a month that's been added to the total. But I don't go ahead and add more money at that. How did I say that? I want to make sure I'm real clear. When I'm saying the figure, I'm not really going up more so than what the last person was paying. Okay? Now, some people, and you can also do it like this. You can say this. Having the upgrades there, in case you don't want to deal with the asking for extra money, you can use it as a selling point. For if you like any one of these upgrades, we'll be glad to add that, modify the property to include that if you go ahead and decide to apply and you're approved and we rent to you. So you can use it that way as well. That way I'm not just showing them what they see, I'm giving them the opportunity to say, oh, what? Okay, well maybe that's the thing that pushes me over the edge. All right? Now, it's not just amenities that you can customize. It can also be allowances. What do I mean by that? You allow pets. So for an extra $50 a month, you can have 1 pet. Okay? So that's another way. So it's not just what you're adding, it can also be for allowances, like a pet. Where's the clicker? And the whole purpose is, remember, what's the whole purpose of this? It's to have extra, what's the term that I use? Buffer money. Thank you so much. Bigger rent, lower deposit, customize your properties, amenities or allowances, or spacing. You know, divide the home up into 2, divide it for multiple residents. So I'm not just customizing in terms of an amenities, maybe I customize my property to have 2 people instead of 1 to get the extra income. Or I customize it to offer the garage as a separate. I'm separating part of the property, dividing part of the property where the garage now is considered additional amount. Or as was said yesterday, the potential for a barn. Okay. All righty. Different leasing terms is another way. So this is the D in A, B, C, D. I told you yesterday for month to month, what do? I charge more. I think my lease right now tells current residents, and I'm really low, I need to go up.
Could you move the chair over a little bit?
Sure.
Thank you.
If a current resident wants to switch over, and I have them from time to time ask me, can I switch to a month to month? I say sure. And I think right now I'm pretty low in saying it's just an additional $30 more a month. I consider that kind of low. And why are they maybe doing that? Maybe because they're looking to buy sometime in the future, or they're looking to move sometime in the future. I'm okay with that if they've been a good resident, but I'm sure not going to just shift over to month without getting the extra for it. So, different leasing terms. The payday plan, we discussed that. Where in which you pay me on the first, or you pay me on the every 2 weeks. Did anybody have any questions on that, by the way? That plan, again, some people have a high percentage in terms of individuals who take up on that offer. I'm happy with 20 to 25%. And it's all part of the leasing process. As you saw yesterday in the lease, the questions are right integrated in the lease. Why are they integrated in the lease?
For the judge.
Not for the judge. Remember, I'm a level 5 landlord, which means what? I've got other individuals that are doing the new resident orientation. I don't want to be hoping that these questions are asked. Because they're integrated into the lease, they're going to be asked. Very important. In fact, I have some people to come back to me after the fact, after the lease signing, a month or 2 months later. You know what? We would like to do that worry-free payment method, where in which the money is deducted, taken from our account, so we don't have to worry about getting the rents to you. Because maybe after 1 or 2 months, maybe they found that it was a bit of a hassle to make sure that that payment got in on time and they got hit with a late fee. In fact, I even let them know as a selling point. The company I use, I mentioned Clear Now, they offer taking the money away on the 5th. So if it's paid through Clear Now, I say you don't have to have the money in by the 1st, you can have it in by the 5th. And that's when it is deducted. And so I use that as a minor selling point. Yes, sir?
You just say for the biannual, sorry, for
Bi-weekly.
bi-weekly, you charge them more money per month in addition to you are getting an uptake.
I'm getting more, but I'm not charging them more.
That's what I heard. You're not charging more. Okay.
Well, I'm getting more.
Yeah.
So in essence, I guess I am charging more on an annual basis.
Yeah, I was good with that. You know, it's good if you charge them. I just want to know if you were charging more.
Wait a minute, let me make sure we're not combined, because the payday plan is not necessarily an automatic plan. The worry-free payment program is where in which is being deducted from their account with ACH payments.
Do you charge them extra for that?
No, I do not charge them extra for that. However, those who pay the regular way, if they work, they got to pay me more. So nobody even chooses I take that back. More people choose the direct method because they pay less by doing so, if that makes sense. If you don't pay me that direct way, your rent might be $10, $20 more per month. That's the regular rent. The direct payment is kind of like offering a discounted rent for direct payments. By the way, any of you use the the discounted rent program? Okay, what do I mean by that? It's actually popular amongst many landlords. So let me make sure we're clear on even how that works. Let's say, for the sake of numbers, you want $1,000 a month. Can't write with the clicker. You want $1,000. The traditional way that landlords handle payments after the first, I'll just use 10% for now. Make it easy for me. $100 late fee. So if you pay me late, how much you end up paying? $1,100. That's a traditional way landlords do it. Another way to do it, and I'll just put it right under this, instead of saying 1,000 plus 100 late fee, is say the regular rent is 1,100. If you pay me by or before the first, you pay a discounted rent, which is written into the lease. You pay a discounted rent, you take 100 off, and you only have to pay 1,000. So the regular rent is how much in this scenario? What's the big deal? Couple of things. From a psychological standpoint, do you want to be penalized or do you want to be rewarded for getting a discount? Most people would prefer to be rewarded than be penalized. From a legal standpoint, if I have to go to court, when I go to court on the second method, what am I asking the judge for? 1,100. Under the first method, I'm going to court and I'm asking the judge for 1,000 plus a late fee. Some judges don't pay the late fee. And they have a hard time collecting the late fee. So all you really end up getting is a judgment based on the 1,000.
So how do you structure a late fee?
You don't.
So you don't have a late fee?
Well, some landlords go a step further. You pay by the first, you get the discounted amount. But if you don't pay by the first, now you're paying 1,100, and then who knows, maybe the fifth late fee kicks in of 100. And that's how you would do it. So they end up paying in that scenario, how much would they end up paying if they paid after the fifth? 1,200. Yes.
But when you, let's say when it's a competitive marketing,
Competitive market.
and then in another property are renting 1,000, yours is 1,100.
Good question. So in a competitive market space, guess what the price is that I'm advertising even under the second method? What am I advertising? I'm advertising the discounted rental amount, which you can say in the ad. Discounted rent, 1,000 per month. And it is discounted. So now I'm competitive with the other people that are charging 1,000. You with me? Yeah. Okay, yes, sir?
I'm in the middle of that right now going to court. And the judge will only see that discount. He's calling that a late fee.
Okay.
So you can't collect the additional late fee.
In some states, and I'm glad you're bringing it up. What state are you in again?
Iowa.
Now, I don't know it was the case in Iowa, but in some states, I know like, is it Connecticut, for example?
They're even disputing it like for the COVID money.
Oh, well, that's another whole issue.
I know it, but I've got this set up for a tenant
Yeah?
where the rent is $750. He pays $100 for the first, the rent's $700.
Yep, that's it.
They're not allowing me to charge any late fees at all,
Okay.
which is
So the judge is considering the discount a late fee. All right. So in some states, they actually consider this a reverse late fee. Now, in Iowa, I'm surprised because I didn't think Iowa did that. And it might just be the judge, and it might be because of the pandemic situation that we're in.
well, at least Blackhawk County.
Okay. All righty. So again, I answered your question. Everybody see how that discounted plan works? So from a psychological standpoint, it works pretty good. And from a legal standpoint, it works pretty good. Hold on to that thought. And then a third way, this way benefits over the first way. You got a fourplex. When you go to sell, how are they determining how much value is in the property? By your rents. So the landlord who, even though they only get 1,000 because people pay on time, but according to their lease, how much income are they receiving? 4,400 is what they're receiving based on the lease. The first group is only receiving $4,000 based on the lease. Whose property is worth more? The 4,400. All simply because of the way the lease is written. All right, so that was just a side note. So back to where we were. Different leasing terms, payday, first of the month, and shorter term rental options. If I'm going to have a 6-month or a 9-month lease, what was your question?
Maybe I'm getting in the weeds too much, but this is the hard part. This is the stuff I.
Now, I just want a question right now. I don't want the comments.
Okay.
So are you asking me a question?
Yes, regarding late fees.
Yes.
Can you pull it off of the deposit if you weren't getting them throughout the lease term?
Good question. That's a legal question, and I can't answer that. Because that may vary from state to state in terms of, for me, in my area, if they owed a late fee and rent, when it came time for the deposit to be refunded, I can deduct it out.
Okay, I'm with you.
Okay? All righty.
What about other landlords? What about other landlords?
Well, hold on that thought, because I don't want the conversation to extend. I'm trying to hit a few important points here. Shorter rental terms. 6 months, 9 months, 8 months. Any of you doing any shorter term rentals?
Yes.
Raise your hand.
They pay a premium.
So now when I say shorter term, are you talking by the day or by the month shorter?
6 months.
6 months. All right. So who's your target market for those 6 months?
Well, it's a particular property, it's an executive.
Particular property,
It's an executive property.
executive property.
And I'm getting probably, I would say at least 40% more than.
40% more than you would if it was doing the normal way. And your target market are professionals?
This is an executive rental.
Executive rental. Okay, excellent. Now, you had one. Are you talking about by the night or the month?
It's a professional athlete, so it's the same.
Professional athlete. In fact, I think that was one of those that was listed at the beginning of your manual where we talk about people who are willing to pay more. Professional athletes being one of those. So I'm glad he's bringing up that example, because sometimes when people look at that list, he said, what are you talking about? Nobody, where are these people coming from? So anyway, and how much more do you believe that you're getting from the professional athlete than you would get if it was just a regular yearly rental?
So it went from 1,000 unfurnished long-term to 2,600 furnished.
Woo!
And we pay
And you pay the utilities.
yes.
Okay.
So at least double.
At least double once you net it out.
Yeah.
All right, and it's for what?
It's month to month in case he gets hurt or traded. We
Okay.
have that agreement.
Okay, it gets hurt or traded. And is that on the minors level or professional level?
Professional.
Excellent, excellent. How did you find out about that particular person, by the way?
It's definitely an anomaly in our business.
Okay.
But now I'm trying to say, hey, who else do you know?
There you go.
But we found him.
There you go. You caught what he's saying? The first time it probably happened was by chance. Now he's making an effort to say, wait a minute, how can I reach more of that particular market? Excellent.
But to answer your question, they reached out to us because we had just listed it on Airbnb, so
Okay.
we didn't have any bookings
Gotcha.
past one weekend. It was all about timing because like the Chiefs had to make their 53-man roster.
Okay.
His wife called and said, hey, if my husband makes the team, we want to be in your neighborhood or your city.
Excellent.
It's a suburb to Kansas City.
Okay.
And,
But you're not in Kansas City yourself?
well, this particular home is in Lee Summit, which is 20 minutes away. And
Okay.
so it's got a good reputation.
Gotcha.
They got a 6-month daughter. And
All right.
they had always stayed in a hotel.
By the way, is anybody doing Airbnb? You are. Nightly basis? Monthly? I mean, not monthly, but at least 30-day or more? Or you do the weekly, nightly?
We do at least a 3-night minimum preferred.
At least a 3
3 nights minimum.
3 nights minimum. And how many Airbnb, if you don't mind me asking, do you have? 2. I'm asking that because somebody actually asked me before the meeting if he can connect with individuals that are doing Airbnb. So he might want to connect with you. I won't say who that person is, but if somebody approaches you, you'll know. Anybody else doing Airbnb? You're doing it? Not with the athlete, but
Well, we have 3.
you have 3, okay? And you raise your hand, you're with him. So you guys are doing Airbnb. All righty, so now how much would you say you're getting extra on these Airbnb compared to what you would get?
A lot extra.
So at least double, 3 times?
More than double.
More than double.
For the whole month or for 3 nights, you make more than you would to.
No, I think over the course of a month, that
Close to 10 grand a month.
I think
close to 10 grand a month versus what would it be?
probably like a 4,500.
4,500 is what it would be if it was regular monthly. So 10,000 versus 4,500. So at least double then.
It's enough to make us consider each time someone moves out to think about it, would this be a good Airbnb for us?
Excellent. In fact, one of the reasons I want to stress this just for a moment, I don't want to sell everybody on Airbnb by any means. However, I do want you to give it some thought, more maybe than you have been, because many people think that Airbnb means you got to be in some kind of vacation area, special area, or high income area. That is not the case. In fact, in whatever town you're in right now, I bet you if you went to Airbnb's website, you would see listings for properties in the area that you're in right now, and probably for properties just like the kind that you have. So I just want you to consider it. I know we did I was doing one of my landlord retreats about 3 or 4 years ago. Lady heard this and said, well, you know what, I'm going to try it. And she lived in Kentucky. And it just so happened that coming up, our retreats are normally in January. Her vacancy came up, I don't know, April, May, somewhere around there. But she's in Kentucky, and it was right like a month before, what's that big horse race in Kentucky? And her property was right near there. Now, in the past, what would she have done? What had she been doing? Just renting it at regular. Just renting it regular. Because she heard the thought, got the thought, and I emphasized to her, just like I emphasized with you, before you start advertising, before you start marketing, before you start doing stuff, determine your priorities. So she said, well, you know what? I heard that idea. I want to get more money this time. And I live right by the Kentucky. Let me try that. And she tried it. And she ended up getting like 5 times for that month what she would normally get. And she was ecstatic. In fact, she looks forward every year. She'll make the leases stop prior to the Kentucky Derby so that she's able to offer it to somebody that's coming in. And it's not just for a night or two, because she found that they'll stay for a week, 2 weeks at a time. So she was happy. So again, think about who you want was an idea that we've been sharing throughout. Stacking on top of market. What does that mean? That simply means, hey, with some of these ideas, I do more than one. In other words, I might get the bigger rent and I might start off by asking them, how much are you looking to spend? Where I was going to, instead of getting 800, I get 900. But then when it's time to deal with the deposit, well, you know what? I'll pay half of that and I'll go up a little bit more, because they don't know anything about the fact of the 800 anyway. 800 was just in my mind. You with me? So they're paying 900. Now they want to go ahead and pay an extra 5% on top of that. So now we're up to 40. So we're at 945 because I used 2 of those strategies. And how much would I have gotten if I hadn't used either of them? 800. So everybody caught that. Yes.
So let's say in an area where you're renting out an apartment.
Renting out an apartment.
You know, let's say market rate's about $1,000.
Market rate's $1,000.
And you ask the applicant how much they're looking to spend.
Yep.
What they were spending. It's
Yep.
say $1,150.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a lease with them for $1,150.
Now you're concerned about the neighbors and the fact that they're paying more than other people that have got the same type of unit.
I was going to ask about retention. Do you ever have retention issues? Because after a year or two, or let's say they stay 1 year. And they decide, for $1,150, I could get something a little bit better down the street. So have you had retention issues?
I have not, but here's why. Because your question is an excellent question. And if I was just doing things the normal way, I would. Mm-hmm. I talk about anniversary gifts. Mm-hmm. Those same anniversary gifts or upgrades if somebody is paying more, in fact, when they first move in, before we even get to the anniversary stage, if they're paying more than the market rent of the other units in that same building, or even in that area, guess what I will do without charging any more for it?
Give them an upgrade.
I will give them upgrades. So that closet organizer, or that washer and dryer, that dog door, if they have a pet, whatever, I will give an upgrade to the property to help increase the perceived value of what they're getting versus what the others are getting. Because with the additional amenities, it's now at a higher market value.
Gotcha.
So that's what I would do.
Okay.
In fact, that's why I think it's very important to ask people in terms of that question about upgrades and things. Is there one or two things on here that you would be willing to pay extra for? And if they say no, I say, well, we also give anniversary gifts. And on your anniversary, we may be able to give you one of these. Which one would you have a preference for? So now I've got an idea of if they end up paying more than what others in the area, you know what? We're including no additional charge, this particular upgrade, so that you feel that you are getting good value for your money. So that's just different ways to handle that.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
I don't know if I asked this before, but are these
Anniversaries.
is the rental still increased on these anniversaries?
Yes, rental is still increased on the anniversary date. Always raise the rent on the anniversary date. In fact, one of the reasons I do it is because one of the reasons I am able to raise the rent without a bunch of pushback is because they're also getting upgrades at the same time. And I'm letting them choose, hear me, what upgrade they're getting, which makes a big difference. When I talk about anniversary gifts, and I don't say choose between what do you want? No. I either give a list or I say, here are the ones that we're going to make available this year. You can choose any one of these three. Yes.
What if they say, well, I don't want upgrades, just don't raise my rent?
Okay. So what am I thinking in my mind when I hear comments like that? Goodbye. Now, I mean, really, that's what I'm thinking.
Why not raise the anniversary date?
Okay, so I mean, I'm not trying to be, but that's what I'm thinking when people have that, when respond that way. Now, if they've been a great resident, I look at the numbers and see, do I want to, what's the term, subsidize, so to speak, because that's what you're really doing. You're subsidizing people. If all the other rents in the area are going up, and they're saying that we don't want it to go up, then if you decide to keep them, you're subsidizing. Now the question is, can you fill vacancy if they move out? And a lot of landlords don't raise the rent for that reason. They feel that they won't be able to raise the rent to justify covering the empty days. See, because I know how to fill a vacancy, and I'll go through multiple ways to get it done, I'm not held hostage. A lot of people are held hostage in this business by their current residents who say, no, don't raise the rent. I'll stay, but you can't raise the rent. And so you let them stay. They sneak somebody else in, and you let them stay. They put in an unauthorized pet, but you kind of shrug your shoulders. Why? Because you don't want to deal with the vacancy. For me, I'm not going to be held hostage in this business.
And they move when they're ready to move anyway.
Some people do, but some people will stay longer depending on how you do this thing. But the point is, I don't want to be held hostage. And I don't want to subsidize somebody who, when they, as you say, move when they're ready to move, I think I'm doing a great thing. But, you know, they may end up moving anyway. And I've been losing out. In fact, I was one subscriber to the newsletter, my Mr. Landlord newsletter. They were talking about how, you know, Jeffrey, I messed up. I was one of those landlords that didn't raise rent. And now I'm seeing prices skyrocket in my area. And places that used to rent for $1,100 are now renting for $1,450. Same type properties. And I've been missing out on this rent for several years because I've been timid in raising rent. I would encourage you, don't be timid. And then even on top of that, look for these other ways in which you can bump up your income. In fact, when I'm looking at these things and I see prospective residents, I'm thinking, okay, who are the type of residents that I want that would want those kind of preferences? Who wants custom upgrades? I take that into consideration. In fact, I'll even ask on the application, would you like a deluxe home or would you like a customized home? Yes, sir?
Just kind of curious, when you do have them long-term tenants, and
So I'm not sure your real question. Are you saying should you
when you update the rent,
back off on raising the rent 1 year?
no,
Okay.
just how do you, when a tenant has an old lease and they're arguing with you, and they're on an old lease,
Why are they arguing with me?
just being tenants, I mean, just the normal stuff, just.
See how he says just the normal stuff? Sometimes when people tell me just the normal stuff, because I do things a certain way, some normal stuff to you is no longer normal stuff to me.
That was just it, it was a 5-year ago tenant, or a
Okay.
7-year ago tenant, so that was your normal 5 or 7 years ago. Today, that is not your normal. So you're trying to bring a tenant up to today's standard. I mean, you don't, I'm just asking if you ever.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding the question, because I'm raising the rent every
You have a
year
lease that's old,
on old lease, okay?
and you have not raised the rent.
All right?
At what point
So that's why
you
I
give the tenant a new lease, offer them a completely new lease instead of just raising
offer a new lease and don't raise the rent?
the rent? No.
Offer a new lease and raise the rent?
Yes.
At what point? At the point that I realize I need to do so,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
And then the tenant refuses to sign, but you'll pay the rent increase.
Yeah, but then I'm looking to get him out.
Okay. That's kind of.
I mean, I'm not trying to be funny,
No,
but if I haven't raised the rent in 5 years, it's a real good chance at this point now, I'm $200, $300, $400, $500 maybe behind what it should be. Maybe 500 is a bit much, depending on what your market is and how property. But even I was looking at even my $750 rentals from just 2 years ago. Just 2 years ago, I was looking at the numbers. I'm $200 on average higher than what I was 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, they were $750. Now I'm asking $950 for the same rental, just in the last 2 years.
I guess because of coming here, I have changed my lease drastically. I have people on the old piece of paper lease.
Yeah?
That is missing half of the stuff that's on today's lease.
Well, to me, just because they're missing half of it, I don't get bent out of shape over that.
Just keep giving them rent.
But if they don't want to pay the rent increase, that's where we gonna get bent out of shape. I mean, because if they're following the old lease,
Yeah.
if they're doing everything I wanted them to do in the old lease, it couldn't be too bad. That means they're basically doing their basic minimum stuff you need to do as a resident, taking care of the property, not doing damage.
But if you did the minimum stuff as a landlord, now you're trying to do more.
Right?
It creates conflict.
It does. It might. And if they don't want to go along with the new program, just like I mentioned to somebody else, I got to weigh. Do I want to subsidize this individual?
No.
Or do I want to go ahead and get them out? And yeah, it means that they might be a little bit upset with me at that point. I'll try to do it in the nicest way as I can, but I am going to do it. I am going to do it.
Can I ask a follow-up to what?
Yes, what's the follow-up question?
The follow-up is what it sounds like. I mean, every year when the lease expires, I have a new lease because my lease is a living document.
Okay,
Every
gotcha.
time I have the issue, I change it.
Okay.
So at renewal or anniversary,
At anniversary,
I'm doing a new lease. Is
you're
that-
doing a new
that's
lease?
not-
They're coming in and signing a new lease?
I said it, absolutely. They have to sign it.
So what's your question for me?
So my question is,
If that works for you, fine. If you're asking me, do I do that every year? No.
you don't.
I don't.
That's not a common practice.
Oh, I don't know. Anybody, let's ask in this room, get a benchmark. How many in here, you had a resident that started in last year. They're coming up on their anniversary date. How many in here are sending out a new lease on their anniversary date?
There's benefits to do it, if you're gonna,
Wait a minute, but before you say the benefits, so how many are doing it? Just I want to know that first of all. Not should be doing it, how many are doing it? One?
One city.
Okay. Another person, so 3 people in here are doing it. Now, what's your benefits? Talk to us.
well, a lease is the personal property of your tenant, is what it is.
Okay.
And so they're gonna need it to get their kids enrolled in school,
Yeah, but they can do that with the lease that they had.
or a utility maybe. If you're gonna apply for, any kind of financing, they're gonna want, and you're gonna use that income for your debt to income ratio, they're gonna want a copy of the current lease.
Okay.
So you might as well do it.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. And then there's a third way where some landlords just send out an addendum.
But I do
What I
roll,
do.
That's what you do.
but I
Okay?
do have.
They don't change the whole lease, they just send out an addendum that has whatever the modifications are to the old lease, and it ends up by saying all other terms of your existing lease stay as is.
And so I think a lot of it depends on the state. So like in Florida, for example.
Yes?
You can do a lease for 1 year.
You can only do a lease for 1 year.
Then it would go month to month, if
Yeah.
it allows. Okay, then in the state of Florida, on a month to month, both the tenant and the landlord only have to give 15-day notice.
Okay.
Of lease. So if you're a landlord, what you've done now is you put yourself at a risk of a tenant leaving in 15 days.
What, by not giving them a new lease?
That's right.
Because it automatically goes to month if you don't say anything.
correct.
Okay, good point.
I do.
Go
In
ahead.
my area, which is very active legislatively, there are a lot of new clauses that come in every year that are required, and you run the risk.
All right, Barry, another good point. She said that there's some new clauses that you're required to include in your lease, and so for that reason, you send out. Now, would you send out a whole new lease, or would you send out a addendum?
I'm going to start sending out an addendum because I know I'm negligent in that area.
Okay, all right. So you heard the different approaches on how it can be done. All righty? Now, moving on. Good discussion, great discussion. What's next? Maximizing intangible. Here's this in a nutshell, folks. And keep the focus toward the front, please. The essence in this is a nutshell is your whole attitude in serving people. At least that's my suggestion to you. My suggestion is that you come across with a servant attitude, especially at the beginning. And when I say a servant, let's even talk about a server, as in a waiter. Waiter does two things, at least a good waiter does. One, they make a good first impression when they first come to the table, whether they're smiling, whether they're saying your name, whether they're cheerful, whatever. Their goal, if they want to get a tip, they usually come over and they make a point of making a good first impression with how they're getting ready to serve you. Second thing, they check back to see if you are satisfied, to see if everything's going okay. Not in a overly aggressive kind of way, but they do check back. In fact, if a server doesn't come back and check back, I'm thinking to myself, this is not a good server. I would say, well, there goes the tip, but I don't want that frugality mindset to creep in. But what's the point? Those two things, I think you need to do as a rental property owner. I think you need to make a great first impression. Why not give them a move-in gift when they move in? That could have been talked about when we talked about the new resident orientation. Anybody giving a move-in gift of any way when people move into your properties? What do you give?
I send over a pizza.
You send over a pizza
And sodas on.
and sodas. Okay. What do you do? Or did I see your hand go up?
Yeah, you did. Simple things like paper products. And
Paper products,
You know, toilet paper, paper plates, napkins.
toilet paper,
and,
paper plates,
Gift certificate.
gift certificate to
Pizza place.
pizza place,
The traditional moving meal.
the traditional move-in meal.
With paper plates. You don't
So
have
you
to-
send over the pizzas, she sends over a
The gift certificate.
gift certificate to the local pizza. Is that hand starting to go up?
Well, it's a plunger, it's not.
A plunger. In fact, I do as well. I do a plunger, but I put it in a basket of other things. I don't just get, here's a plunger. But we put it in a basket of toiletries. And then I read where one landlord said that he also gives a bottle of drain cleaner as part of the gifts, move-in gifts. And she said that has cut down on the number of people that have called saying that there was an issue with the drains. The plunger, the whole idea behind the plunger is so that they think if there's a problem, I do it myself. I've actually had people come back to us, months later and said, we need another plunger. Not a problem. I'd much rather them come back and say, I need a plunger than I need you to come plunge it. But back to the big point here. The big point is And I only saw a couple of people say move-in gift, so maybe you don't do a move-in gift, but what do you do to make a good first impression with your residents? And don't just tell me, well, I give them a house. You know, and I'm not really giving the house, but I mean, I'm providing a house for them. That should be enough. And I'm suggesting to you, no, do something to make a good impression. What's the big deal? Intangibles. If your residents think that you are there on their side, so to speak, and that's what I'm trying to come across, I'm on your side. It's helping them decide whether they're going to even come back. Studies show that people make the decision on whether they're going to renew or not, sometimes within the first 24 to 48 hours after they're there. And once and you say, well, they could change their mind, yeah, but once people lock in their mind, boy, when I get out this place, you know, they think I'm going to be here more than a year, they can, well, okay, they're made up. It's hard for people to change their mind once it's locked in that, no, this isn't the place for us. So I'm doing my best to try to not get them to switch over immediately to, oh, I thought this was going to be, you know, they get buyer's remorse. I'm trying to counter buyer's remorse.
Jeffrey, how soon do you check in?
How soon do I check in? Within 24 to 48 hours. Well, I'm sorry. Within the first week is when I check in.
Okay.
Within the first week, I check in.
What page is this on?
This here, I don't think this is on any place.
Okay.
By the way, if I end up doing a video, not if I end up doing a video, but if you're provided a copy of the video, these slides, some of these slides will be in that video. We're still determining whether it's going to be a video or audio, especially after a person brought to my attention I had something on my face. If people have a good first impression, they're more likely to start off paying on time. What's the big deal? The big deal here is I'm trying to develop good habits. Because if they start off right, the chances of them continuing are far higher than if they start off behind. You say, well, Jeffrey, you can be all nice as you want. They still might pay you late. Yeah, but I'm going to be proactive. I'm going to attempt to do something. When we first started this whole thing, I told you one of the things I want to encourage you to do is not just take their money when they move in, but be proactive and do a couple of little things to increase the chances of getting your money, of increasing income, retention, performance. So I'm just sharing with you, make a good impression, check back with them. They're more likely to refer others to you. They'll work with you regarding maintenance. What do I mean by work with you? In other words, they're not going to jump on you if for some reason you don't get back to them as quickly as they had originally hoped. Of course, my 72-hour maintenance guarantee helps with that too. Less likely to become a pain. Contact you instead of an attorney if there's an issue. Cooperative with you at move out. Again, I'm encouraging you just to be proactive. Don't just take the money and let them go on about their business. Do something as you're taking the money. Make a good impression and then check back with them within a week. Maximize income after they move in. Now I got to play a little bit of hardball. Yes, it's nice to be a good guy, but you also need to enforce your rules. Plain and simple. If you don't enforce your rules, for some people, they'll get away with what they can get away with. They'll get away with what they think they can get away with. So even though I attempt to be a nice guy, if you're late, I'm still going to charge the late fee. I'm not going to be slack that first month or that second month. I'm going to start the eviction process if I have to. So hold on to that thought. Charge fees. Sometimes this is where you can get extra income. Of course, to enforce your rules is so that you don't end up getting less income. Have more than one way to get your rent. I guess I should hit upon that for a second. What does that mean? Most landlords now, many landlords have more than one method for their residents to pay them. If you only have one way for them to pay you, I would suggest in these days and times, have more than one way. I told you for me, I like taking it out of their deposit, but for those who don't do that, they can bring it to my bank account and do it that way. Some people, and obviously there are other ways. Any of you use Zelle? Do people pay you by Zelle? 2 people, 3 people, 4? Okay, so that seems to be pretty popular here in this room. I mentioned credit cards. Anybody collecting by credit card for any of your residents? One person, okay. Back there in the back is represented by that. And has that worked out okay for you?
Yes, I mean, the tenant might get frustrated.
Okay, all righty. All right, so is it just a few residents that pay that way or many? What percentage would you say?
3 to 5.
3 to 5%?
People will pay along the way. Then
3 to 5 people or 3 to 5%?
3 to 5%.
Okay,
But they don't do it all the time. But
Okay.
once in a while you see it happen
okay.
on a regular paid person.
And you have your own charge account set up?
I'm inside of Appfolio, so it's all out.
Oh, done through Appfolio. Okay, all righty. And did I see a hand go up over here? All righty. What's another one? Venmo? Venmo is an option. Okay.
Venmo has a little bit of issues.
All right. Well, don't tell me about their issues. But for those listening, she says Venmo has a couple of issues, but you have used them. Okay. In fact, let me just put these down for a second for people who are taking notes. So I mentioned the Clear Now. I mentioned Zelle. We just talked about Venmo. We talked about credit card. What else did we mention? Cash App. How many are doing Cash App as a way for them to pay? All right, is that working out okay for you guys? What percentage of your people are paying that way?
We have one tenant.
Oh, you only have one, and they're paying by. And how did you come up with Cash App? Her idea? Okay.
Yeah, because she was having problems paying, other cash, basically, or check.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, well, do you do cash app? And she was regular then.
Were you doing Cash App before she said it? I mean, not with other residents, but just in general, had you been using that? No. Okay. So do you like using Cash App? Okay. All righty. So if you had another resident, would you be open to them paying you that way too, or?
Yes, we would, but we just have to, because it normally takes like a couple of days to get your cash out. So
Yeah.
It's like, you need to pay before the first
Uh-huh.
so that we can cash out.
All right, so you want to get the money quick in Cash App. There's a couple of days. In fact, with many of the programs that are up here, just so you know, there's a couple of days delay before you actually have the money in your hands, even though it's taken from them on a certain day or they start the process on a certain day. You may not, in some cases, you may not get it
So then when
that same day.
When you count them as paying paid, when they put it in the
Well, for instance, with the Clear Now for me, on the date the Clear Now takes it, even though it doesn't come to my account till a few days later, I count it on the day that it's taken from them. I don't think it would be right for me to say, no, I counted once I said no, you chose that particular thing that I even offered to you. So they take it on this day, that's when I count it as paid. And if somebody's paying you by Cash App, I would dare say that if they actually did their transaction on a certain day, you might want to count it as that day. I don't know if anybody has a different way of looking at that than me, but to me, I always try to look at it from my perspective. Now, with that said, I know of many landlords that don't make the first their due date. My friend Lou Brown, he likes the due date on the 25th of the month, preceding month. So as you get more residents, you might want to say the rent is due by the 25th. And then that way, by the first, for the month coming up, not for the not for the current month, but for the month coming up. So that's just something that you might want to take into consideration. He says he loves that method. He said, in fact, when they pay by the first, if it wait to the first, now you having to pay a late fee. Okay, so continue on. Oh, different charges to increase income. Admin fee. Did I mention that one yesterday? I believe I did. Well, let's elaborate maybe 2 extra sentences right now. rent is due, or when person moves in, let's say your deposit is $1,000. Deposit $1,000. This is the deposit we're talking about. When we come to the lease signing, in fact, if you go back to your lease for a second, this is right after page 120, 121. It doesn't say 121 because on the lease I don't number every page, but right after page 120, the first page of the lease, up toward the top, maybe right before number 1. Is everybody with me there? Security deposit. In that spot, instead of putting 1,000, I would put 900. Admin/leasing fee, $100. First month's rent, whatever that is, and then total move-in. So what did I just do? I kept $100 of it. Made $100. It's my money instead of theirs.
Okay.
Many property managers do that, by the way. Charge admin fees. My $100 is a small amount. In fact, I got this idea. I told you that I was using a professional property manager at one point. And they would add in additional fees and so forth. The only thing is when they were adding in these additional fees, it wasn't being divided or transferred over to me. So one of the things I kept, because I'm not I'm not going to be a bag of rocks in this situation. When it came time for me to do my lease and start using my own lease, I said, well, I like that admin fee idea. Let me go ahead and include that in mine. In fact, $100 is pretty reasonable. Some property managers charge more. They charge $200 or $250. Of course, check your estate, make sure there's not an issue. In fact, some professional property managers are kind of getting away from the whole deposit thing. Again, check your estate. But some are getting away from the whole deposit thing and just charging a administrative or a leasing fee. What's your question or comment?
So I have a question. I've seen where people have
A posting fee?
where they have to post a notice.
Oh, yeah.
Do you do that?
I do. I don't call mine a posting fee. I call mine, it's another admin fee that takes place if I have to file anything against you.
And how much do you charge?
I charge $95.
And where is that in the lease somewhere?
I believe it is. Now you're going to challenge me to be able to find it real quick. But I believe it's in there. It's probably something that they even have to initial at some point.
Now, what
Okay, look at number 79. Service charge. For every court appearance and or court filing, an additional fee for a service charge will be added to your court costs, which the prevailing party in court is entitled to. Each service charge is, boom.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
But I'm talking about a posting fee. Like you have to go actually post.
Oh, so mine is just for filing. Of course, I need to make a note of this and to consider it, but I don't do it just on posting. But
You have to send somebody out there, you have to pay them.
I understand, and I'm not against that. That's why I'm saying I might need to make a note to myself that I might want to start making that part of the things that I consider charging for. Now, she mentioned that. Anybody in this room do a posting fee?
I do.
You do?
I do $25.
$25?
If I have to post 3-day notice, for being late, $25.
All right, so there you go.
Is it 45, I'm sorry?
She said 25.
25.
But I probably should have to raise it because 25, no, I can't find anybody to do it.
Okay, all right, so there you go. There's an example of somebody that's doing the posting fee.
I
Yes?
have a question. If you file on them, a lot of people, when you file, they then pay the rent. You don't ever have to go to court.
Right.
Can you charge that for just filing?
That's what I do. That's exactly what I do. In fact, I let them know that for me, on this date of the month is when we do the filing. Why is that important? Because exactly, they may pay before that date. So even though they missed the rent being due on the 1st, they might even miss the late fee. When I say miss, I mean they owe for the late fee they haven't paid yet, but then comes this service or admin fee for filing later. So they didn't get it in by the 1st, they didn't get it in by the late fee, but they get it in before that last fee kicks in. Is everybody with me? And if they don't, then all those are going to be added to the balance that is due.
And is that something where we should check our jurisdiction?
Yes, you should check your jurisdiction. Yes. All righty. Yes, sir?
A question about
Which notice is this? The pay or quit notice?
the pay or quit notice.
All right, so what's your question for me?
Sometimes we find we're sending it out to a lot of tenants that just almost start ignoring them because they're late to the bill.
Okay.
Any strategies?
No?
No?
Don't have any great strategies there. So you're trying to say, is there anything else you can do so that you don't have as many people waiting for that notice to be sent? Is that
And ignoring the notice because they're going to pay anyway.
so? If they end up paying, do you get more?
I wait sometimes.
So do you end up getting more?
We've already charged the late fee at the time we filed the notice. We're only allowed $40.
Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure. So you do the second, they haven't paid,
I haven't paid
you do the pay or quit notice
on the 5th.
on the 5th, and then they pay you after that.
Yes.
So do you get but you don't charge anything for the pay or quit notice.
Exactly. And that's
So maybe you might want to add to your lease if I have to, I don't know if post is the right word in this scenario, or send out pay or quit notice.
because there's people that say, well, I already told you that I was going to be late. And you're like, well, we have to do everything the same way.
I got you. I'm just throwing out that might be something that you consider
I'm just looking
doing.
for a professional strategy.
But
You just send them out anyway. Like, you send out all your...
oh yeah, and the reason he says I send them out anyway.
Yep, exactly.
The main reason I send them out, even though they usually always pay, is because there may be that one time that they don't. That's the reason why I still always send them out. Because if I don't send them out and they end up not paying, now I'm that many more days behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
I'm that many more days behind the 8 ball.
Notices go out, but do you have those few tenants?
I understand. But again, I'm going to send it out, and that's what I would say to them, John. I know you're going to do it, but you know what, John? We have a couple of individuals that don't, and we've got to treat everybody exactly the same. Even though I know you're going to pay it, I know you're going to do it, and we appreciate it that you're going to pay it, but we still have to send it out because we have to be consistent in the way we respond to everybody.
Do you make any exceptions if they're partial payment, half payment or something?
Do I make exceptions? No.
Nothing, okay.
If they pay, if it's $1,000 and they only send me $500, I still send out the pay or quit notice.
Always on the same moment.
Same time. Yep. Again, because if I don't and they don't pay that other $500,
Yep.
I'm pushed back in time. Now, which brings up another important point. Just in case you're not aware, in some states, once you file, in some states, if you accept any money after that filing and before the court date, you nullify the court date. In fact, somebody just posted something on our Q&A forum recently where he couldn't understand it, that he had filed, got the court date finally came, but right before the court date, they sent him some money. He even said, the judge asked him, did you receive any money since your filing? He said, yes, Judge, I got it. I got the payment last week. Judge says, fine, case dismissed. Wow. Now, the only problem why he was so upset, he had started this whole thing 3 months ago. What they paid him for was the amount that was due 3 months ago. He was hoping to get the eviction because they were still now 2 months behind, but because he accepted anything. So it would have been better for him in that case not to accept the payment. In fact, bring it to court with you and say, Judge, we did not accept it because payments not in full are not accepted by our company. Then he would have been okay. So I'm just mentioning that to you in case you find yourself in a situation. I should also mention, the gentleman, Ron mentioned a scenario. I'm going to take that one step further to make sure nobody gets into a problem here. If you are accepting money late and not responding to them because you know it's coming late, you're setting a precedent. And a judge can say, if you've done this, say 3 or more times, when you really want to start enforcing it and get them to pay you by a certain date, the judge say, well, no, you've set the precedent that you accept the money after this date. I'm not going to start eviction. I'm not going to evict the person based on the history that you have already put in place. So just be careful there in terms of, and I'm not saying Ron's doing that. I'm just saying to you, if you're slack, is the point I guess I want to make. So if you're slack in any way, you're setting a precedent. So if some damn time, so say for instance you came here and you said, wow, we got a lot out of that boot camp. I'm going to start enforcing my rules more. Well, the first thing you should do, and I think one of the forms in the manual talks about strictly enforcement of rental payments, something along those lines. And it basically says up to this point, we have not been accepting it as we should. From this point forward, we are now accepting it only in a timely manner, blah, blah, blah. And that way you're changing the precedent that's been set, but you've given the resident notice that you're changing it. All right. Charge for non-compliance. Hold on to your thoughts because I'm trying to, we're on a roll right now. Charge for non-compliance. Okay, he is bringing up a good point. He said some people who are accepting payments online, person might just sneak in $1, pay $1. Okay, and now you've accepted some money. So be careful there. That's one of the things I like about using a program that only takes money, but they only take the full amount or nothing. You can tell it to only accept full payment. All right, good. At apartments.com was the comment. You can tell them only accept full amount. Charge for non-compliance in terms of maximizing your income. So say, for instance, the plumbing goes bad, and it's their fault. Plumber clearly pulls out something, even though we had an issue with that with someone in the room yesterday. But a plumber pulls out something, shows clearly it's the resident's issue. You should charge for it. If you don't, you're setting a precedent in the resident's mind that, okay, maybe she's not going to charge if we do stuff like this. And so you're increasing the chances that it'll happen again.
In addition to the cost of the plumber?
No, I'm just talking about charge. Good question. So here, you might have a cost. Say, for instance, plumber, I charge for the plumber. Separate fee now. Plumber comes out. They're not there. Plumber has to go away. You should have something that says they're going to be charged for not being there if it was already agreed to them to be there. That's an example more of what I'm talking about now. Or they have a dog and they're not supposed to have a dog. We have a $150 fine in our lease if an unauthorized animal is on the premises. So I'm charging a fee for that to keep them, actually in that case it's a fine. And you should even talk about when you're dealing with pets, no pets if that's your case, but also say no babysitting. Okay, because they're going to say, why was just babysitting? So you have to be real. No animal on the premise for any reason. Short-term, babysitting, visiting, not on the premises. If it's an emotional support or a service in a different category, because now it's no longer considered a pet.
Yeah, but then it instantly becomes an emotional support animal.
Not always. Comment is that it instantly becomes an emotional support. Not always. If it does, then you got to deal with it. But I've been able to utilize this clause many a time in which the person got. To be honest with you, the first time they do it, it's a warning, and they got to get it out immediately. If they don't, the next day it's there, we do the fine. Yes, sir.
What do you do if that dog bites your neighbor?
That's a problem. In fact, we talked about renter's insurance. If somebody, maybe you don't require it, maybe you just recommend renter's insurance. If somebody has an animal, you should require it for sure. Because if somebody bites an animal, then their insurance company should come in. Now, from a landlord perspective, if you hear of potential threats with this animal to other individuals, and you don't do anything to try to deal with that issue, and then they bite someone, you could be held liable. So anytime you get wind or whiff of something going on that can be of danger to a neighbor or someone else, if you don't do anything, they can come back and sue you, whoever is harmed. That holds true for more than just an animal situation. Pardon me?
They're probably suing both anyway.
They may, but I'm just trying to say some things to you to help safeguard yourself. All righty. Offer residence extras every year, not just new residents. That's the upgrades. I don't just do it when you move in. I do it every year. So maybe you didn't get an upgrade when you first moved in, but maybe you do an upgrade the next year or 2 years later. If somebody contacts me, I told you yesterday, and they start saying, there's something we would like done, an upgrade we would like. I have somebody contact me and say, the carpet, we've been here for 3 years, Mr. Taylor. We really would like the carpet changed. Hi, Mrs. Jones. You've been here 3 years. You're absolutely right. You're one of our valuable 3-star residents. I tell you what, when's your next anniversary date? It's coming up in about 4 months, Mr. Taylor. You know what? You can choose for any room, depending on how long it was, we said 3 years. You can take any room that you want, and we'll put new flooring in there. Your choice. We'll make that your next anniversary gift. I'm saying one room. You can say the whole house, depending on what kind of budget you're working with. But the point I'm trying to make here is this. What does she now think? Nice. Exactly. Nice. So I've stopped her in her tracks in terms of course, the first question, if she starts to say, I want several things done, what's my first response?
What's the one thing?
What's the one thing? So now she focuses on carpet. I'm glad you got that. It's real important. Sometimes people just laugh when I say that, but I'm serious as a heart attack. And then now we're focusing on the carpet. Now we got her focusing on getting the flooring, but the flooring's not going to be changed until another 4 months, which also means what? Not just rent increase, but she's staying. She's staying. So I've accomplished several things. I've turned a negative into a positive for her and for you. Okay, most of you got it. All right. Raise rents annually. Couple of ways in terms of raising rent. Here's the approach I like to use a lot, especially if they've gotten behind. I've gotten behind. Doesn't happen now, but in case I've gotten behind in terms of, well, even when they're not behind, here's the approach. Market rent now is higher. Let's say it's $100 higher. I say, now in the past, when I first started as a rental property owner, good residents, I wouldn't raise the rent. Mainly because I was held hostage back then. I didn't know how to fill a vacancy and I don't want to deal with it. Now I know how to fill it so I can deal with it. But so now I raise rent. But let's say I don't want to go up $100. Say I'm happy with just $50. Here's what I would say to them. Ms. Jones, rent in this area, Market rent in this area is now $100 more than you're paying. You're one of our 3-star residents. Because you are, we wanted to ask you, market rent is 100, but what would you consider a fair middle ground? Guess what she says? $50. What do I say when she says $50? I think, how about 75? I think our company can work with that. I don't immediately say yes. Why? The reason I don't immediately say yes, the reason I don't immediately say yes to anything is because I am not the owner of the property. I'm just a manager. So I would never be able to respond nay or yay to any request that a person has or to let them confirm something. I've got to always check because I never want them to see me as the decision maker. For me, that has worked out extremely well. I would encourage you to consider that. Not just because it works out well in terms of, well, a couple of reasons. One, I don't get asked a bunch of questions in terms of decisions to make because they know I'm not a decision maker. And if they do, they know I can't give them an answer right away, which helps me not put my foot in the mouth, which I used to do when I started as a rental property owner. I'd be quick to say something when I thought about it later. You know what? That really wasn't the best way to handle that. I didn't need to say we would do this. I didn't need to say that can be done like that. No, after I thought about it. So now I give myself time, which is extremely important. Not only that, if they think you're the decision maker, they're more likely to ask favors of you. You know, Mr. Taylor, going to be a little bit late on the rent this month. Can you help a brother out? John, if it was left up to me, you wouldn't have to pay any rent at all. I'm serious. That's how I respond. Not only that, people are more likely to sue you if they think you're just the owner of these properties and, you know, you got all this money. I don't want to come across as that at all. In fact, I would even suggest to you, you know, it's up to you. But if you're dealing with managing your properties, I wouldn't drive up in your Jaguar. Okay? You don't want to come across like you got a whole bunch of money. That's my suggestion to you. You want to keep a low profile. And keeping a low profile is part of me being the manager and not the owner. In fact, for me now, I'm the assistant manager. I'm serious when I talk to people, because I told you I've got an assistant who's the manager. So if they're talking to me, I'm saying, you know, I'm just the I'm assisting Mrs. So-and-so. Yes.
What if you've already said?
If you've already established
That you're the owner.
that you're the owner. Suggestion to you. In fact, there's a letter toward the back of your manual that introduces a new property management company that you assist with that property management company. You are now just someone who assists with that company. You say you're going to assist because all of a sudden you're not going to disappear, so you just as well give yourself a role in working with the company. But now, as you're doing this, you also say, in fact, as you're trying to find it, let me see if I can help you out. It's way back toward the back. 311, Introduction to Property Management Company. This letter is a friendly and official notification that the home, apartment where you are currently residing has recently come under new management. We would like to take this opportunity to introduce the name of the new company taking on the management and a couple of their rental policies that will immediately go into effect in working with residents. The property manager assigned to your property is, and then you can put yourself in there. I told you part of the thing I want to encourage you to do is to even rebrand yourself, whether you have a single family home or whether you have many. I think you should have a company name, a property management company. Doesn't mean you have to go out and get an LLC and all that. Just get you a DBA. Now, LLC is a good thing for other reasons, from an asset protection standpoint, but that's not what I'm talking about now. Right now, I'm just talking about getting a DBA. So you present your company now to your residents as opposed to you. So, and now there'll still be some who will see you and say, yeah, she used to be the owner, so she's got some play in all this. I'm saying to you this, though. It's all about the way you posture yourself. If every time you communicate with people and you posture yourself as the manager and not the owner, people will start to see you as a manager and no longer an owner of the property. They really will. Most property managers who manage single-family homes, they don't do anything differently than you, but their posture is they're the manager. They work for a property management company, and that's how they come across, because that's who they are. And it's nothing untruthful about you saying you are the manager, because you are. You just wear more than one hat. So anyway, I hope you're getting what I'm coming from. Just reposition yourself, but communicate to them. Now, what does that mean? That means in all of your leases, in all of your communication, you now use the property management company name. And when you sign off on it, you put manager behind your name. I'm suggesting that not just for her, I'm offering that suggestion to many of you. That's why even in our exercise today, I even threw out the question, what would you call the company of this property? I'm suggesting to you, use a company name. Come across in a professional manager, and you're now have a different role with this new management company. Notice it says new policies that are going to go into play. Well, some of those policies are policies that would benefit. I'm presenting them in a win-win way to the resident. By the way, you say, well, Jeffrey, you can't change things in the middle of the lease. No, you can't. However, if it's something that they are willing to change with you, like they want to start paying every 2 weeks, or they want to have a customized addition added to their property, okay? If they want to change, then we can change the lease in the middle of the lease. Is everybody with me? Now, your question?
How about if they make the check out? I mean, if I start doing business as a...
Then you need, if what I'm suggesting that you do, not only do you get a company name, DBA, but you also get a checking account in that business name.
You have to do the whole thing.
Oh yeah, you don't want to make the check out to you. That's kind of defeating the purpose. Good question, though.
So does the bank need to verify the DBA is this belongs?
Yeah, the banks will verify with you something or other, but a DBA, again, doesn't mean that you are changing your legal entity, but you are getting a DBA. But when you get a DBA, there should be some paperwork that goes along with getting a DBA. I know when I go and got my DBA for my management company, same principle I'm sharing with you, there was paperwork that was given to me showing that this is my DBA.
Do you have a form for that?
I don't have a form for that one, I'm sorry. Because that's the form that they gave me once I went to do the DBA.
You'll need to,
now,
if you have to go to court, so then you got to prove that you're the manager of this entity.
No, I think you're making more out of it than you have.
Well, but I'm just
My assistant that goes to court all the time, she was never once asked, well, who are you?
No, in Florida.
No.
In
Well, in Florida, it may be different. It may be different.
In Florida, when I do the filing, there is one section. Do you have a DBA? So next year when I file it, maybe I can fill out that one.
There you go. Okay. Don't know how it handles it. You check for your state, but I'm just sharing with you. For some, as you're sitting in this room, I don't want you to think, at least in many cases, it's not as complex. What I'm suggesting is not.
As an individual, so we've been doing this for a long time.
Understand?
So, as an individual, we own a property and we evict somebody, we can represent ourselves.
Gotcha. In your state,
If we
now if it's a, legal entity other than your own,
Right, it's
you have to have an
manager.
attorney or somebody.
Exactly.
I'm with you. Now just check though, because the DBA, you're still a sole proprietor in the DBA. So I don't know if you necessarily have to have an attorney just because you got a DBA, but you check that out. All right? But you're right. If you change a legal entity, for sure, you may have to have an attorney. Even in my state, my property manager can assist. But if we get challenged and we have to come back to a trial, I have to have an attorney to represent me. Okay. Yes.
Along those same lines,
On the same lines.
you give the residents your real full name in the world of Google, and everybody can look you up and learn things.
Okay. In the real world, if you give your real name, which brings up another point.
And also, when you complete documents, you actually put your name on it as manager or just the company?
That brings up a good point. I'm going to suggest to you that you consider even using a nickname and communicating with your residents.
And then when you sign a form, you can't like use a nickname as a legal thing, but can you just put management of ABC Company?
You can.
Without a signature?
You can.
For notices and stuff?
You can. And I'm saying, in Virginia, they're not making a big deal about who's signing that, by the way, just so you know. But I'm just throwing that out to you. Even if we're not dealing with the legal documents, I'm suggesting to you, and just in your normal communication with folks, your normal communication, instead of me saying, I'm Jeffrey Taylor, maybe I just say I'm Ray. In fact, I wish that when I first started, I had started doing that. I got that strategy from another landlord who says that's all he does. He never uses his name except for legal documents when he's got to do it. But just in normal, what's the big deal? The big deal is if they want to Google,
Google will find you a lot.
they won't find me if they just Google Ray. And 99% of residents is not going to stop and say, what is Ray? People aren't going that deep, folks, as you're signing stuff. I'm just giving you a suggestion. Just another, that's an asset protection strategy, okay? In fact, with my signature, you couldn't even read it when I write my real name. That you can. I don't know about you. Yeah, and I purposely write so they can't read my name. I purposely. So somebody looking at my signature, they don't know who it is. And I'm not saying all this so that you can avoid stuff, but in a sense I am. But I'm also, along with that, I'm still saying to you have good relationships with your residents. Because if you have great relationships, then the chances of it going to court and all this kind of stuff is cut and nil. All righty, moving on. Next on the agenda. Boy, we're having a lot of good ideas this morning. I hope you're getting out of this as much as I am. Maximizing on saving expenses. Budget ahead with cost-saving maintenance. Preventive and routine maintenance. I told you I do preventive maintenance, or, well, no, this is something separate now. This isn't the courtesy service check. For example, I've got a guy under preventive maintenance. I've got a guy that's going out this upcoming week. We're actually behind a little bit in schedule-wise. But he's going out this week to change the filters on all of the homes that have a central air AC and has a central AC and heat system. Why am I doing that? Because I know in the past, if I didn't do this, sure enough, somebody's going to call me complaining that heat's not working and so forth and so on. And every now and then I've had situations where it's cost me thousands of dollars because I now have to get a new furnace or a new AC system, and come to find out the last resident was not changing the filter at all. And so it's gone several months, if not years. And so it just finally clogged up the system. So now we do preventive maintenance on the property.
On move-outs, we just take pictures of our filters.
On move-outs, you take pictures of the filters, and then what do you do with the pictures? What do you do in the purpose of the pictures?
It just shows us what was going on.
Oh, okay.
And it's terrifying.
It is. So you're not doing any preventive maintenance in between?
No, we're changing the filters.
Oh, okay.
It helps that argument, but if you take pictures of like you look for your smoke detectors,
Yes.
take pictures of them, we take pictures of our filters.
Okay.
It helps.
Yep, it does. Okay. I like the idea. So do preventive maintenance. For example, I talked about giving some drain cleaner. I know of some landlords, every 6 months, they'll go out and they'll actually pour some drain cleaner down there at their different properties to help keep the system clean, especially if you're known to have problems with plumbing in the past. So that's all part of preventive maintenance, taking the leaves out of the gutters. That's a preventive maintenance thing so that the gutter is not getting messed up, clogged up. In your book, it has a list of suggested preventive maintenance things that you can do. In fact, on a seasonal basis is a list of suggestions that you can do. What you can do during the winter, the summer, the fall. What page is it? Somebody help me out and find that so I don't have to stop and look real. But that's under the maintenance section.
All right, never mind though.
Never mind. Okay. Somebody might find it, or I'll find it at some point. Always ask for discounts. I'm real good at that. Anytime I develop a relationship with anybody, I'm going to ask for a discount. Even with places like Lowe's, Home Depot. I go to, I had to get some water heaters. Had to get a couple of water heaters. One for one happening right now and one that may happen that will happen at some time in the future. So I went to the manager. He knows that we do a lot of business with him. I said, I know you offer a discount, but can you do a little bit better than that? He said, let me look and see. He gave me a price. I said, John, you could do a little bit better than that. And they did. And so I ended up saving myself a couple of $100 off. I ended up buying 3 water heaters, not 2. He said, well, if you get 3, I'll do that. Normally at Home Depot, they might give you a 10% discount, but I ended up getting much more than that. Well, I shouldn't say much more than that, maybe double that I would get with the 10%. I ended up getting 20% off of it. But what's my point? Not that I got a discount. The point is that I took time to ask for it. Make a standard practice. In fact, I would encourage you to have business cards with your name on it. Your company name on it. I'm serious. With your title, manager. Any business that you're doing business with, whether it's a locksmith, the local hardware store, window replacement company. I have a company in the area and I'm the property manager. Would you offer us a discount for any of the work that we bring to you? Even if you only got one property, you present yourself as the manager of this company. Can you do a discount for us if we do any work with you? Bring any work to you? Make it a standard practice to ask. No store owners. That's what I'm talking. And don't just talk. You don't just ask this to whoever's on the floor working. You ask to speak to the owner or the manager and ask for that discount. It's to your advantage to develop a relationship with these people. I found in real estate, relationships is where it's at, folks, in terms of building a real estate empire. Those relationships can come in handy in so many ways. Those same individuals may refer some people to you, may point you in the right direction for other suppliers. My attorney helped me find a great relationship with my, what am I looking for? In terms of, my attorney helped me find a great relationship with a lender in my area. All because of the relationship. And I'll bring up that frugality mindset too. As I was growing with rentals, I was first dealing with just some run-of-the-mill real estate attorney. Somebody suggested you should use this guy. So I did. Cost me a little more, yes. But the kind of connections that he has put me in touch with has been well worth the little bit more that I pay him when I do a closing. That's just an extra thought just to throw out to you. Because sometimes we're looking for the cheapest people to work with, but those cheapest people may not. I'm not saying don't find some cheap deals every now and then, but people that you got to deal with on a long-term basis, you might not want the cheapest guy in town. Handyman that we talked about, if you really want a good handyman that you can rely on, that you don't have to be there to pay as soon as they finish the job in cash. Been there, folks, done that. That'll go out from just a phone call and take care of the problem and let you know afterwards, Mr. Taylor, I took care of it. Yeah, you might have to pay them a little bit more than your run-of-the-mill handyman. So I'm paying, instead of paying the $12.50, $15, yeah, maybe you're paying them the $25, the $30, the $35 to $40. I'm pushing it for some of you. I'm talking about somebody you use on a regular basis. Plus, you should be using people that are licensed and insured also, but that's another story. Yes, sir.
Do you have somebody on call 24/7 or?
Well, because I've got a hired individual, the agreement that I had when we sat down to have an agreement was that that individual would be available for emergencies.
Gotcha.
The way we work it out, though, is that if you ever take emergency calls, you know, the time that you took with that, you can take away from the other time, another time during the week that you would be having your regular time. That's how I work it out now. Prior to that, I developed a relationship with a handyman who was pretty reliable because I needed to have somebody that I could call on for emergencies. And we just developed a relationship and said, a business relationship is what I'm talking about. You know, I may need an emergency from time to time. Would you be able to help me? And if you are, what would you charge me? And so we established that. And so when the calls, in fact, I still have one guy that I've got a relationship. He actually stays in one of my properties. And he's a regular contractor. I said, you know what? Every now and then, I might have an emergency and my regular guys can't get to it. Would you be able to help out? He said, sure. And so I established that relationship with him. And so now a call may come in. I need you to take care of that. Or my assistant may get the call. In most cases, that's who's getting it. And I say, if you can't reach our normal guy, here's a backup. So I want to make it so that she has somebody, because she used to get kind of frustrated. Emergencies come in, and she can't get the regular person that works with me or the part-time person. Neither of them are available for whatever reason. Maybe they're out of town. And so she would get extremely frustrated because the calls are coming into her, and then they get upset with her. So she said, can we do anything for emergencies? And so, yeah, so we found a person a backup to call, so to speak. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All righty. I said yesterday, speaking of people that you can call, I would strongly suggest that you have at least 3. See, I've got at least 3. I got my full-time person, a part-time person, and this backup guy. I'm saying to you, you should have, even if you're not doing them full-time, you should have at least 3 people that you could call on. Even with one rental, you should have at least 3 you can call on, because something may happen to 1 and 2. Something may happen to 1 and 2. And people who got and not only that, 1 and 2 may become unreliable at some point for different reasons. One of my most frustrating times was when I couldn't find maintenance individuals. And if you wait till you need them, that's real frustrating. So when I suggest to you find 1 or 2 or 3 people, I'm not saying find them when you need them. Find them in advance. Develop the relationship ahead of time while everybody is calm.
Be proactive, right?
There you go. Be proactive. That's what I'm all about, folks. Be proactive. Keep good records so you can buy in bulk. What's that mean? I knew that we would have need of a certain number of water heaters, so I didn't have any problem buying 3 because I knew within the next year or so, 2 years at the most, I would probably use all 3 of those water heaters. So I had no problem buying in bulk. If I had no idea about how many we need, then I might start to think, well, boy, I don't know if I want to get 3 water heaters. Likewise with paint. How much paint might you need during the course of a year? Instead of getting a couple of gallons, get the 5-gallon bucket or whatever, if you know you're going to be using it. And you say, well, Jeffrey, I don't use that much stuff. Pair up with Landlord Buddy. Use that term again. Maybe between the 2 of you, maybe you don't need that many, whatever it is, water heaters, just to use that, continue on that line of thought. But between the two of you, yeah, we'll use 3 water heaters within the next year, or we'll use this mini so-so within the next year. That's another reason why it's good to have a landlord buddy. By the way, when you get your paint, does anybody buy it from Home Depot?
Yes.
You do? Do you get at least 20% discount every time you get it?
Why?
Because you should.
Well, can you give us your number again?
See, she knows where I'm going to.
Oh, okay, so you just purchased that.
With Home Depot, they have a thing, and anybody can qualify for it. If you buy so much paint within the year, you can be part of their Pro Reward. Well, you can be part of their Pro Rewards program, even if you buy a little bit. But the more you buy, the greater your percentage. Because my company is at a high number, I get the 20%. I get the maximum. Well, Home Depot told me, if I share my number with any landlord in any part of the country, they can use my number and say they're part of the Pro Rewards program, Paint Rewards program, until you get up to the point where you're getting that 20%. So my number, and they asked for your phone number. My phone, they would ask for a phone number. So that phone number is 757-436-2606.
Can we read it back? 757-436-2606.
That's it. That's it. Just say you're part of the Pro Paint Rewards program. Now, that doesn't mean I'm paying for your stuff. Let's make sure we're clear on that. In fact, there's not an account on file that you could accidentally end up using anyway. But
That only applies towards paint products?
that only applies toward paint products. Now, you can't go in Home Depot and start asking for anything. That applies for that applies for paint products. Any kind of paint products, though.
A practical question on how that
Practical.
applies, because I used my own number to get the military discount, and so do you have to like separate your paint into a separate?
Good question. I don't know. Nobody's ever asked me that question.
Okay, I'll ask the manager. I've met her.
Okay. All righty.
What do you want to do?
She would, by the way, she mentioned that she has a military discount, and she gets discounts for a military discount. So she said, do I need to separate the paint out if I want to get this paint discount? And, well, the 20% is probably greater than the military discount, is it not?
Only 5%, and now they just cut it back to only $400 for the whole year.
Okay, so you might want to just go ahead and separate the paint out when you get the paint. But there is a military discount of like 5%. They also have a thing called the bid room. Now, Home Depot has it. Lowe's has it too. I don't think they call it the bid room. They call it something else. But whatever the point is, if you buy a certain amount, I think it was $2,000, $2,500 at one time. Sometimes they drop that figure down to as low as $1,500.
But what they do, what I do is I call the bear representative at Home Depot.
You call the bear representative at the Home Depot,
Where I shop,
where you shop.
and I tell them I'm coming up on, I'm going to be ready to paint a property,
I'm going to be ready to paint a property.
and I need the best price. And he will call me if there's going to be a discount
Okay.
on the paint, and then I get the other discount.
All righty.
Like a double discount.
Get a double discount. In fact, she's going back to that, one of the other suggestions, to always ask for a discount. And to finish my point on the, what were we just talking about? The bid room. You don't have to be a company or anything. You just tell them I'm buying a certain amount. Can I get the bid room price? Can I get the bid room price?
Like in 4 hours or the next day.
Pardon me?
They give you an answer like in 4 hours or the next day, so if you're going in.
Wow, yours take 4 hours? They give me mine instantly. Well, that's interesting.
I went in for a big amount of flooring,
Okay.
for the new flooring, and wanted a big pallet.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha.
So I pushed hard.
All right, so bid room, he said it may take a few hours. You got to be kidding me. All right. Keep good records so you can buy. Establish buddy buying, even with contractors. Master lock system. Anybody do the master lock system? I mentioned that yesterday. Couple of people. The rest of you, you have to change key. You have to have a.
Yeah, we change key each time.
Landlordlocks.com. Look at that. look at what they have. They've got a website. I don't get any money from them by mentioning their name, but landlordlocks.com. It was started by a friend of mine, Ernie Riddle. But that's where I get my locks from. What I like about them, for me, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is I like the fact that now that I've got the locks in place, anytime I need to have a lock changed, I just call up and order the cylinder part. Little thing in the middle. I don't have to buy new locks. Just get new cylinders, which are a lot less than buying a whole lock. And then with the cylinder, with this whole master key system, with one of the master keys that I have, I just put the key in, give it a turn, and pull the cylinder out. Looks nice too when you're doing that in front of residents. It's like we're changing the lock. I'll show you right now. We're changing the lock. So the previous resident does not have access to this property. But it only takes 30 seconds, a minute at the most if you're kind of slow or if your hand's a little bit shaky. They advertise 15 seconds, put it in, turn it, and pull it out. But the nice thing about it is I can go to any of my properties right now with one key, open it up, except for the one or two that every now and then we catch putting their own lock in, and then I've got to find them because they're breaking the lease, and we got to put a new lock in their door. Now, you start to make a comment?
Another huge advantage of that system.
Another huge advantage of this system?
You have more control over your keys because they can't just go make a copy.
Why? Because it says do not duplicate or something?
It looks like a special key, but yeah.
Gotcha. So, all right. So the comment is that it's less likely that somebody will try to make a copy of the keys, so you have more control. So again, it's a pretty good system. Pro rewards, we just talked about. Other suppliers. Any of you got a recommendation of any national supplier that you get some of your something from that cuts down on your expenses?
Probably
Sherwin-Williams, is that what you're trying to say? Okay. Anybody else?
There's that website, they actually have cheap stuff. I'm not going to remember the name.
Okay, but don't worry about it for now. When you're reducing expenses, I consider these the big three: insurance, contractors, and taxes. That's why I developed a relationship with one of the sponsors on our website, and you get to it by MrLandlordInsurance.com. So if nothing else, you can at least contact them and get a quote to make sure the insurance that you're paying now is comparable in terms of rates. Now, if you've got a great insurance agent that you're working with, I'm a person that believes in loyalty. If I'm getting good service from somebody, I'm not going to lead them just for a few pennies. But every now and then, we're not talking a few pennies. And so when it starts to be drastic difference, I want to get a quote on what the price can be. In fact, sometimes I'll contact the insurance company and simply say, what's the quote, so that I can use that as leverage with the person that I'm working with now. And that works out well. Contractors. Why do I bring them up? I told you I'm a very loyal person when it comes to any relationship I have. But every now and then I notice contractors, even though I'm loyal, year after year they start to creep up on their prices. Now, a little bit I can understand. But every now and then, it seems like they go hog wild. And so in those times, that's another reason why I like to have relationships with more than one. So if number one starts to get too crazy, I can go to number two or number three. And by the way, when I have 3 different contractors that I'm working with, I don't just work with number one. So don't think I'm saying have 3 and the other 2 are just there as backup. No. I give some work to number 2 and some work to number 3 also. Because if you don't give any work to them, there's no reason for them to have any loyalty to you when you call. So I give some work to everybody. It's just that number 1 is my first go-to person. But I also give work to the other 2. And taxes. Have any of you ever challenged the property tax?
I used to do it all the time when they were decreasing.
Okay, you used to do it all the time. And did it work?
Worked every time.
Worked?
But I had to go through the whole thing. They denied, then you appealed.
You denied, appealed.
The third time, I always won.
You always ended up winning.
Yeah.
And you've done the,
I have done it also almost every year. And
almost every year.
for different properties.
Okay.
And, almost at least 80%.
80% of the time.
I get reduced of taxes. Like this year, they asked me to provide a comp. And actually,
This year they asked you to provide a comp.
but actually I cannot. But I just complained that prior when I bought a house, it was.
You complained
Now
and
this is much more. I said. With the
so did they give it to you?
Yeah, I said with the COVID, I can't do this.
Okay,
They-
gotcha.
They just reduced 600 for me.
Okay.
But I-
All right, so use COVID as an excuse, just like the residents. But you got it reduced. Why did I even bring this up? Most landlords do not stop to challenge their property taxes. Yet those who do, most win. So I'm just saying to you, if you've never challenged the property tax assessment on your properties, do so. Do so. It's a high percentage that you will probably win. Transfer utility expense when possible. This is something that's pretty obvious, but I'm mentioning it just in case some of you are paying utilities. Even if I have to do some minor sub-metering, I say minor, it may cost a few $100, may cost $1,000, but I find in the long run, if the utilities are being paid by the resident, I come out ahead. I come out ahead. Even on apartment buildings where I was paying all the water, I've contacted sub-metering companies. Some of them just do a policy called RUBS. And with that, they don't have to change any plumbing. They just do it based on the occupancy number and the square footage. And then they start billing the resident. So now, with one property that I got, I was able to save myself literally tens of thousands of dollars over the course of a year because I'm no longer paying the water. The residents are. RUBS. Energy audits. Anybody do energy audits? Weatherization programs?
Only in personal residence.
Only on personal residents. And if you've had your residents do it, I've talked to landlords who've had their residents contact the local weatherization program, and they came in and fixed up the property, or weatherized it, if I'm using the term correctly, and it didn't cost the landlord anything. So just something to think about. How many of you use home warranty programs? You got just a few single-family homes.
I used them, but I don't do them anymore.
How come you don't use them anymore?
The quality of work went down, the time frame was huge.
Quality of work went down, time frame that took them to get out there became longer?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need AC, but here you gotta get it fixed quickly. They were like a week away.
Okay.
Plumbing was a week away.
Plumbing was a week away, AC was a week away. I'm just throwing that out. Some landlords have had good success. They have a few properties. They don't want to have to worry about it. The water heat goes bad, the AC system goes down. They just have the resident or themselves call the home warranty company. There's usually a $75 or something deduction that takes place. In fact, they put that on the resident to take care of that, or you can take care of it. But it's just to have something in place if one of the major things in the home go bad. That's just an alternative. I don't, because I've got a handyman. I've got a full-time person working with me. But if I didn't, that would be an option that I would consider. Well, to be honest with you, I'm one that I would be developing relationships with individuals in the area. So it's a good chance I would not, because I'm going to take the time to develop a good relationship with somebody who I can call out. But maybe you're in areas where your properties are not. You know, the properties are outside your local area. And it's just a single-family home in this area that you have to be concerned about, or a couple of them. Well, maybe you use a home warranty company because you don't have relationships with local contractors in that area. So that's just, again, I'm just sharing with you different options. I think American Shield, is that the one you used?
Yeah, actually, I have it on my home because my husband's a Karen.
Okay. Your husband's
A Karen? He complains about everything.
Oh, okay.
So I have nice phone.
All right.
My husband said the same thing yesterday about Karen. I don't know what that is either.
No, I know what a Karen is, but I never heard of Karen in that context. In fact, the context I hear a Karen in is usually not that is not a positive scenario. In fact, I don't know if any of you look at Equalizer. No, nobody looks at that because there was a Karen on that one just recently. But that's another story. We're going to take that out of the video, by the way. Forms to highlight. Where were we? We were on, which section are we on? We're dealing with maximizing income. And that started on 270? No, not maintenance. Can anybody help me? Where maximizing income. Where does that start? Okay, thank you. So, at the end of maximizing income, just to make sure that you're aware of some of the forms that's available, new payment option, number 181. If you want to get residents to start paying you directly to your, or have that directly withdrawn from your account, that's a letter that you can send out. That's a sample letter. Pay rent on time, forget about the paper, guaranteed security, build your credit. That's a letter that I actually used to send to my residents to get them to convert over to the direct rent deposit program. Payday payment plan, 182. That's a letter promoting paying it every 2 weeks instead of once a month. I'm just sharing this because I don't want to just tell you an idea. I want to let you know that there's also letters that you don't have to use them just as is, but you can modify them. I'm giving you a starting point. If you say, well, you know what, that idea, I will try it. And when you walk out of here, I want you to have the tools to be able to try the ideas that I'm suggesting to you. Somebody asked me yesterday, do you think that individuals are receiving the ideas, or are they maybe not being received as receptively as you want them to be? I said, to be honest with you, I'm sharing a lot of ideas. I'm sure some ideas are hitting people more than others. In fact, I heard a couple of people say, that idea I really caught that idea. My goal here is not to totally transform you in 2 days, but it is to trigger you to start to think in a certain direction, and then have tools that you can walk away with. Should you decide to try the idea, you have the tools to try them. And I am going to encourage you to try them. I can't tell you the hundreds of rental property owners that have heard me speak who came back later and say, you know what, Jeffrey? When you shared that idea about a 3-star program, or when you shared that idea about a payday program, or when you shared that idea about whatever, I thought you were a little bit out there. But you know what? After I tried it, lo and behold, it worked. And so they've been doing it ever since. So I'm not saying every idea I share with you is going to take off, but I am suggesting to you, before you just say, I don't know if that idea is going to work, I challenge you to test it. And I bet you that you'll be surprised by simply trying many of the ideas that I'm suggesting to you. You have very little to lose, because I'm not asking you to spend thousands and thousands of dollars with the ideas that I'm sharing. In fact, the ideas that I suggest implementing, a lot of it is communication, the way you communicate to people. That's why I give you the letters to use. To me, this whole business is about communication. Well, a lot of it is about communication. You have to execute as well, but it starts with communication. And so, again, I just want to encourage you. Hear the ideas. In fact, not long after this day is over, I'm going to suggest to you that you jot down some of the ideas that you really want to take off with. In fact, in your folder, I think there's something that says big ideas that I got the first day. Big ideas. that I got the second day. If some ideas really hit you and you say, whoa, I really like that one, take time to jot it out. Did you not get that in yours?
I saw it, but I don't know where it is.
It's in the, that's one staple. It's in there.
Okay.
If something really hits you, please make note of it. In fact, for those that are watching or listening, I would encourage you, if you hear a great idea, make note of it so that you can go back and review it, so that you can go back and review your notes. But make note of it now, because I know how life is. You'll leave from here, jump on a plane or get in your car, you get back to your normal setting, and you're going to start doing stuff the way you've always done. So if you haven't made notes of the things you're going to start off attempting to do, it makes it harder for you to begin implementing it. And when you start to implement it, again, I'm going to strongly suggest that you start to develop your own customized procedures manual where you use the pages in the book and you've got a flash drive or a CD so that you can make copies of it. So don't worry about writing in your notes because you can always print out more. But I gave you pages where you can start to create checklists after every chapter. Start to do that. And by the way, it doesn't mean that that's going to change. I mean, not change. You may write down some things today and 2 weeks from now, oh, you know what? We need to add this to that checklist. But have the checklist. So as you continue to grow, it's integrated into your checklist, not just a bunch of notes. Because again, I know how people are. Notes get put to the side. My checklist, my manual, I always have that. I can always refer to it. And every time I do an aspect of my business, I go back to the checklist. So we gave an example of a letter for payday. There's a garage or storage rental agreement, parking agreement. Any of you have a scenario where you're able to get extra for parking? Anybody? Yes?
Yes.
Kinda?
But then I pay it to someone else too.
Oh, okay. All righty. Well, if you ever find yourself in terms of wanting to, you have a place where people are willing to pay you extra for park, I got a parking agreement. Announcement of upgrade survey. Anniversary agenda checklist. Ooh, this is a nice letter. Page 186. You need to know the psychology behind this. I believe in communicating with your customers at least 3 times during the course of a year. One time you communicate with them can be letting them know their anniversary is coming up. This letter talks about anniversary agenda checklists. One of my core principles is let the resident play a part in the decision-making process. In this anniversary agenda checklist, you actually ask the resident, on your anniversary date, we'd like to meet with you. Please let me know what topics you would like to discuss at this meeting. Now, here's the real beauty of this, folks. You'll get it as you look at the different things. One is, I'd like to discuss a new upgrade. Another one, I'd like to discuss a different rent payment plan option. I'd like to receive a 10% refund on the security deposit. I'd like to transfer location. I'd like to learn about the tell a friend referral bonus. Do you kind of see where this is going? It's like whatever they choose, it's a win-win scenario. Because if they ask me about the different rent payment plan, what am I going to talk about? Payday. And if they want to change it to a month-to-month plan, that's not necessarily a payday, but from a month, a lease to a month-to-month, I'll talk to them about that. If they want to talk about a new upgrade, what's that going to do for me? More income. If nothing else, okay, we'll give it to you, but that means you're planning on staying for another year. So all these things, I'm doing it so that it's a win-win situation, but I'm letting them tell me, you just tell me which ones you want to talk about. Because any of them you talk about, it's going to be a win-win. Some of you get the beauty of this. Yes.
Clarification on that. Yesterday you mentioned the VIP resident, like
Yep, VIP.
Is everybody a 3-star resident or
Everybody's a 3-star.
it's not a 1-star?
No, not 1-star, 2-star. That's why the lease says, good question. That's why the lease says, welcome as a 3-star. Because I don't want them thinking they're a 1-star. I want them to think they're a 3-star. Sounds better. Not only that, there's another point I wanted to share. What's that? That hits my head and then goes right through it.
If it's a VIP.
Oh, VIP. VIP, after you've been with us for 3 years, you're now a VIP resident. As a VIP resident, you get back 10% of your deposit every year until you get it all back. So that's what the reference is for the the third one down, receive 10% annual refund. Maybe they didn't realize that that was part of our VIP program. So Mrs. Jones, as part of our VIP program, you'll be able to get 10% back of your deposit every year. But that means you're going to be what? At least 3 years. You're going to be with us more than 3 years.
Oh, it doesn't kick in until.
Doesn't kick in to 4th year.
Doesn't kick in until the 4th year.
All righty? But I'll gladly talk to you about it. So again, it's...
So to get the whole thing back, they'd have to be there 14 years.
Yes! She got it. They'd be there 14 years for them to get the whole thing. And you know what? Some landlords have the nerve to say, well, Mr. Taylor, that means you're giving them all their deposit back. After 14 years, the house is paid for, folks.
Not all of them, not all of them.
Not all of it. Well, it depends on what kind of mortgage you have.
Yeah, but everything's going to be wear and tear for the most part after 14 years anyway.
I understand, Miss Laura, but you get the point. The house is, a lot has been paid for toward the house. All righty. Any questions on that? And what time is it? 11:30. Okay, well, with just 30 minutes, no need to stop here. Let's go on to the resident retention program, the 3-star program. Next lesson, 3-star program. What do we have here?
Do you want to talk about a third-party virtual?
Third party what? It was something on there that I didn't talk about?
Yeah.
Where?
Time saver. Virtual assistant.
Oh, any of you using virtual assistants?
I tried.
You tried. Well, it doesn't sound like the virtual assistants is too popular in this group. Some landlords are using them more than others. A virtual assistant is just basically somebody that's not in your own locale. In fact, there's many landlords that are using some in another country. Philippines is one of the most popular places. A lot of times you can find them through companies like Upwork, UPWORK, Fiverr. Fiverr is another company, especially if you need some basic things done. Fiverr gets their name off of it. You can get a lot done for just $5. What's the point? The point here is I'm suggesting to you to delegate. Some of you might not be ready to start having somebody assist you even on a part-time basis. Well, if you get real part-time, you can have a virtual assistant to help you. And for a fraction of the cost that you would pay somebody in your local area, who can do things from bookkeeping to graphics to posting on Craig's on the web on what different websites for you, your rental listings that's available. They can do it so many days a week. If you want to have a website created, a business website created for your new company name, they can create a website for you. If you want somebody to take calls for you, a VA can help you take your calls. You need to give them a script so they know what to say. So there's different ways that a virtual assistant can assist you as a rental property owner. The big point there is, again, I'm trying to point you in the direction of getting help, not doing everything yourself, even if you start in a small way. In fact, one of the things that I share toward the end of the manual and the end of this course, which soon we'll be getting close to after lunch, is start to develop a list. In fact, it would be a homework assignment for you. Make a list of all the different things, the different tasks you do as a property owner or manager. Make a complete list. Every little thing you do. I would strongly suggest that you do that. Because when you start to be able to assign people, you need to know what you're assigning them to. See, some of you have not really given inventory for what you do. If you give inventory of what you do, have all the tasks that you do, as you start to grow, or as you start to want to implement the idea of delegation, you can say, okay, here's all the tasks that I do. Which ones do I hate doing? Or which ones, as one person said a little bit earlier today, which ones maybe are not my strong points? Can I assign somebody to these different tasks? And as you grow, you just assign more things. And while you're doing it, it's allowing you more freedom. That one little homework assignment could put you well on your way toward revolutionizing the way you manage your rental business. Did I answer your question? All righty.